So the time has officially come for me to go ahead and do another little video game discussion. So I thought I would go ahead and fill in with you guys on a particular game that I've played on recently, and not to mention had a massive binge playing this particular game. So if you guys are interested in this kind of video in particular, then go ahead and keep on watching. So of course, let's go ahead and roll the little intro now, shall we? My name is Kirsten. So for today's video alone, I am of course filming a little bit later today. I just got back from my theater class not that long ago, and I figured I'd chill out here and talk to you guys on camera. But anyway, that's not really the whole entire point of this video. So if any of you guys have seen one of my last monthly favorites video in particular, you guys have already known that for so long I've been binge playing Kingdom Hearts for the last couple of months or so. So starting from late December all the way up until sometime in February. So now that I'm finished binge playing Kingdom Hearts, I can finally go ahead and talk about Kingdom Hearts in particular. But for myself, being a little bit more technical, sort of speak, I figured I would go ahead and talk about with you guys Kingdom Hearts 3. And I figured I would go over and talk about this game for several reasons. I originally wanted to do like a story summary type of video, but I kind of figured, you know what, that would take way too long. Why would anybody ever want to watch that? Since I have mixed reviews about this baby in particular, I just want to let you guys know ahead of time. Parts of it is going to be feeling like somewhat of a review. Part of it is going to be a rant. But mostly I am going to go over the pros and cons of this game. And as well as, especially when I get towards to the cons part of this video, I kind of figured I would go ahead and spoil a few things with you guys. But that is not until I get into the cons part of the video, so do bear that in mind, and I will let you know ahead of time. So anyway, if you guys are interested in learning more about my thoughts on this game in particular, then just go ahead and keep on watching. So before I completely get started into this video in particular, so if you guys are completely new to this channel, and if you haven't done so already, please do consider subscribing to my channel with notifications on. I upload brand new videos every single Friday. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and get started into this video and into this topic in particular. So I do have a lot of mixed reviews about this game in particular. Some of it is relatively good, but then other parts I thought were kind of terrible, to be honest. And do not worry, I will explain the reason why. For as long as I can remember, I have been a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. I've got into Kingdom Hearts since 2002, I believe. I was actually in middle school when that game actually came out, which is really surprising because it's literally almost exactly 20 years ago since the original Kingdom Hearts came out. And of course, since playing that game, I've been in love with the series ever since. Of course, talking about Kingdom Hearts 3, there are some things in this game that I do like in particular. I'm gonna go over some things that I actually like about this game first. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on that. So going over some of the pros about what I liked about the third installment of Kingdom Hearts. One thing I really love about this game in particular is I absolutely loved how beautiful this game was graphically. And I gotta be honest with you guys, out of all the Kingdom Hearts games that I've ever played so far, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 was probably the most gorgeous Kingdom Hearts game that I've ever played, and I was really impressed with the graphics. The graphics were just absolutely stunning, and especially when I was playing Olympus, good God, that was breathtaking. I was really impressed with that world. Some worlds I wasn't really particularly impressed with, but we will get to that in a moment. But I was just surprised just how beautiful the game was graphically. So I think that one was definitely a plus on my end of the bargain with this video game in particular. And of course, you know, speaking of graphics and, you know, beautiful areas and all that particular stuff, another thing that I also wanted to bring up, talking about world-wise, some of the worlds in the video game was actually surprisingly how open-worldly it was. I mean, out of some of the Kingdom Hearts games in particular, some worlds were really open-worldly and very adventurous, I felt like, and that was something that I thought felt really unique coming from the Kingdom Hearts 3 video game. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty impressive most parts, but then other parts I thought just were not just enough to explore, to be honest. But we will get to that here in a moment. And of course, speaking about worlds in particular, this is probably the most common thing with RPGs now, and especially some of the Final Fantasy games in particular, and just any RPG game really, and it is the fact that they added in people in some of the worlds in certain areas of the game that gave it that kind of like realism. So the fact that there were like people in the background that were like chatting with each other and just trying to interact with each other and all of that, I just thought that was relatively unique regarding this whole little thing they added in Kingdom Hearts. One thing I've also noticed in particular is that the Keyblades in this game actually transform, which I thought gave each weapon its own little unique features, which I thought were really cool. It kind of gave out that feel of like Transformer vibes almost. I just find that feature kind of cool. That's pretty unique in itself. Also, talking about like transforming Keyblades and all them, one thing I do want to point out is like the little transform interaction button things. I thought those were pretty fun to interact with. They were unique in a sense that it felt like a joyride, just being able to play the combat system things, like no pun intended. It was actually pretty fun to watch and interact and all that other kind of stuff, which is something that I wasn't expecting in Kingdom Hearts 3, but I will take it anyway, and I thought that was really fun being able to interact with that kind of stuff. But in my honest opinion, the most funnest part about Kingdom Hearts 3 was the fact that the combat system in this game was just so unique. And I know a lot of people have already said that about this game in particular, but in my honest opinion, I thought it was really fun. That was something that definitely stood out to me in this Kingdom Hearts 3 saga in particular. And of course, so those were all the pros that I thought I would mention in this video game in particular. I thought I would go ahead and move on to some of the cons about Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular, because let me tell you, there was a lot of things that I was so disappointed about just playing Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm gonna go ahead and explain why, and especially as a Kingdom Hearts fan, left me really disappointed with so many things, which I will talk about here in a moment. But before I go ahead and get into the cons section of this video, I I do want to go ahead and point out that if you guys have not finished and played through Kingdom Hearts from the beginning to credits officially rolling, then now is the time for you to go ahead and click out this video if you have not beaten this game already. But if you have beaten this game, or the fact that you just don't mind being spoiled, you're more than welcome to go ahead and watch, and I will go ahead and explain some of the reasons why I felt so disappointed and that this game in particular had so many massive cons. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into that. So I am not gonna lie to you guys, as a long-time hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan, for a very long time actually, there was just so many things in Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular that I just simply felt, very disappointed in this game in particular. And there's a lot of things that I want to mention that I was really disappointed about with this video game in particular. So this is something I really want to bring up, and this is something that a lot of people actually didn't point out, and I'm actually really surprised that some Kingdom Hearts fans didn't point this out. I'm sure somebody have, but the biggest thing that really bothered me was the fact that there were no Final Fantasy characters in this video game in particular, and some were not even mentioned in Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular. It was almost like they completely vanished and that they were wiped out all in particular. And usually with Kingdom Hearts 2, there would always be some kind of Final Fantasy characters that were played in that video game in particular, but with this one, it's almost like they were completely left out, no mention of that at all. And the thing that still bothers me, and especially if you guys have played through Kingdom Hearts 2 and that you have beaten certain parts of Kingdom Hearts 2, you guys would pretty much know that there was this hidden boss that you had to play, right? Well, I wouldn't call it a hidden boss really, but more like a side boss, if you will, where you had to beat Sephiroth, and that Sephiroth wanted Cloud for some weird reason, right? They were in this fight in particular, Tifa interfered, and for some weird reason, two of them ended up vanishing. Till this very day, I still don't know what the fuck happened to either one of them, so I thought that was a pretty big downer that it wasn't even mentioned in Kingdom Hearts 3 about what happened to Cloud and Sephiroth and all them other characters. It's like they were completely left out to begin with, and it really bothered me. Even in Kingdom Hearts 3, they didn't even add the new Final Fantasy characters, from 13 and 15 and 12, It's something that really bothered me to death, because when Kingdom Hearts first started out, it started out as a collaboration between Disney and Final Fantasy characters, or in particular Square Enix, but a majority of the Square Enix characters were Final Fantasy characters, but still, it's really hard to imagine the Final Fantasy characters never mentioned or never really a part of in this video game. It kind of sucks, and it feels like you're just playing just a Disney game in particular. It's just very frustrating, and I absolutely hated that. One thing that really bothered me in particular, two worlds in particular, I thought were cut out relatively shorter than how I was expecting it to be. For example, Twilight Town and 100 Acre Woods. I feel to begin with 100 Acre Woods, I just felt like you were just playing a mini game, and there was really no point to it. I can't understand why they would leave 100 Acre Woods in the video game just so they could have a site of mini games from this game in particular. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, there was always some kind of storyline, or always like something going on with that world in particular. Like, for instance, in Kingdom Hearts both 1 and 2, you could actually go through pages and explore those pages, whereas like Kingdom Hearts 3, you don't have that option of exploring new areas and different pages to the game. And one thing that really bothered me in particular was the fact that they left out like 1 or 2 or 3 characters at the very most. They completely kicked out Eeyore and Rue's mother or something like that, and even Owl wasn't mentioned in the video game in particular, which kind of pissed me off, because it's like they never intended to put them in the video game to begin with. It just left me feeling so pissed off about that whole situation. It made me so mad. You know, another world that I wanted to bring up in particular that I thought felt relatively short and completely underdeveloped was Twilight Town. Twilight Town is the thing that really gets me. You can't explore the station, you can't go to the tower, you can't explore any other areas of Twilight Town, and that's what really bothered me about that. In Kingdom Hearts 2, it was relatively explorable compared to the third installment. I mean, you can't even go inside the mansion and explore, for God's sakes. Like, I don't understand what is up with that. Why that world in particular was just fallen relatively short. You try to enter in one area of Twilight Town and it's like, oh hey, you know, you can't progress any further, you're gonna have to travel to a different world or something like that. And it's like, what? I spent $60 fucking just to play this game that felt completely underdeveloped. It kind of made me mad, to be honest. Like, that was something I was not expecting out of Twilight Town whatsoever. I was just completely mad about that. Another thing that really bothered me was the fact that I felt like the mini games were sort of like a little bit of a waste of time. Like with the whole Ratatouille situation, and especially the Kingdom of Corona one, where you're just randomly dancing. I just can't get over just how terrible the mini games were. And even the Caribbean section of the video game world, all you had to do was like collect a bunch of crabs, a bunch of white crabs, and I'm not even kidding you, just so you could upgrade your ship. That's it. I had to collect all those white crabs just so I could upgrade a ship. How does that even make sense? How do crabs upgrade your ship? Can somebody explain that to me? I just don't get it. All you're doing is just wasting a bunch of your time just collecting crabs. I don't know. It's the mini games were such a huge waste of time, and I just feel like some of them weren't really that worth it to begin with. Like the Caribbean and the Kingdom of Corona one, both of them really got me. They were long and they were boring, and they felt like a complete waste of time. It just really wasn't worth it. Another thing that kind of gets me is that if you have not played any of the spin-off games ever in your whole entire life, you are gonna be completely lost, and you can't even figure out what's really going on with the story unless you, of course, played the story so far, which recently came out sometime last year, I believe. Last year or the year before that, I think. Even when I went through the game and tried to play every aspect of the game, I still was relatively confused on what was ultimately really going on. But by completely lost, I do actually mean that if you don't know who Shion is, if you do not know who Aqua, Ventus, and Terra are, you're completely fucked and you're gonna feel completely lost. That's another thing with the whole little spin-off games. I feel like some of these spin-off games would have been used in another installment of some kind. Like, I felt like Kingdom Hearts 3 could have been the spin-off, or at least like Kingdom Hearts 9 or something like that, I kind of figured. The only spin-off games that I actually thought were relatively good are between Birth by Sleep, Chain of Memories, and Dream Drop Distance. I thought were a pretty good spin-off games. But other than that, I was relatively disappointed in, I think, maybe one or a few of the games, and especially a Fragmentary Passage. It was so short that I relatively beat it within about an hour or a couple hours. I'm not even kidding you. It was way too short. I felt like a Fragmentary Passage was just a complete waste of your time, and I feel like that could have been included in Kingdom Hearts 3, you know what I mean? I just can't figure that one out, and I can't really wrap that around my head too much. It just doesn't make any sense. Even when you played the sequel of Kingdom Hearts, which of course if you went ahead and you played through Kingdom Hearts 2, even if you didn't play Chain of Memories, you could still understand what's actually going on with the story, whereas Kingdom Hearts 3, you have to play all the spin-off games just to figure out what is actually going on with the whole story. It's just insane. I felt like that was a complete slap across the face for people who didn't even play the spin-offs to begin with. It's just horrible. Another thing that kind of bothered me about this whole Kingdom Hearts 3 experience was the fact that the bosses were just so long and relatively boring. It was so repetitive, and I feel like there wasn't anything going on with the boss battles at all. You couldn't even defeat like the villains in the Kingdom Hearts 3 installment, whereas with the first Kingdom Hearts and the second one you could. But it's like they completely left out the Disney characters to fight off, especially the villains. I mean, the only boss battle you could try to fight, Disney-wise actually, was that weird octopus guy in the Caribbean world. But other than that, the Disney characters are completely left out. And a majority of them were mostly heartless boss battles and nothing more. There wasn't really much going on with the boss battles in particular. In Kingdom Hearts 2 at least, there was like some kind of transition that you could go through that made the game more exciting. It was just fight him and knock him dead. Doesn't matter how long it takes, just do it type of deal. There was not much going on with the boss battles, that it was just completely ridiculous. I felt like the boss battles were just so boring. In Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but I felt like there wasn't hardly enough worlds to fully explore. You know what I mean? Does anybody else feel the same exact way that I do? Did it feel like the worlds just fell so short? I think in the third installment, there's like only about, what was it, 10, 9, 11, something like that. And I think in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, actually, there was like 14 worlds you could explore. Well, some of them I kind of included with like some of the worlds you could explore within the worlds. Like for example, in Kingdom Hearts 2, when you explored the Disney Castle, there was Timeless River. And in Hollow Bastion, there was like Tron's World, and there was like Pooh's World in like the 100 Acre Wood. You know, little examples like that. I felt like it felt relatively short and there wasn't really much going on with the worlds in particular that felt really short. There wasn't hardly any worlds that you could revisit other than the Olympus one and the Caribbean one, but other than that, you couldn't go back to Agrabah, or, you know, they didn't add in like enough Disney characters in the game to fully explore. I mean, there was, don't get me wrong, but there was still like some Disney World. I felt like they were completely missing in this game in particular. Like, some of the worlds felt completely left out. Some of the worlds were completely left out. And even in some of the worlds that were shown in the cutscenes, you couldn't even explore either. You couldn't explore Yen Sid's tower. You couldn't explore the Destiny Islands, you couldn't visit Radiant Garden, you couldn't visit, what's that one area in Birth by Sleep? I forget what it was. It'll come to me eventually, but basically that world too, you couldn't explore much of there either. Even in the Dark World, you couldn't explore much of that either. Like from a fragmentary passage, yeah. That was completely left out too, which is kind of terrible, I'm not gonna lie. Like, parts of me was kind of disappointed in that. The areas that were shown in the cutscenes were not fully explored, and that was another thing that kind of pissed me off about that game as well, I'm not gonna lie. And of course, speaking about exploring worlds altogether, another thing that kind of bothered me was that when you explore inside these Disney worlds, it felt like you were watching a Disney Pixar movie, and there wasn't really much of like a Disney interaction with like Sora, Donald, and Goofy. In Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep, there was kind of like story dialogue that was intended for these worlds in particular, but still, even the first original Kingdom Hearts was not that bad. Even in the second one, it wasn't that bad either. But with the third one, I feel like in some of the worlds, it's almost like Sora, Donald, and Goofy were like completely left out of the picture. And especially in the Caribbean. I think that world in particular was probably my least favorite out of all of them, simply because of that reason and like the crabs you had to collect and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, that world in particular was visually beautiful and I liked how open worldly it was, but still, the whole storyline from that world in particular is probably what got me the most. The storyline in that world in particular just did not make any sense. In Arendelle, that whole Frozen movie section, the whole singing part kind of threw me off a little bit because if there was some kind of interaction there, like with how Atlantica was in the second Kingdom Hearts video game, I probably would have been okay with it if they would have added that in that context, but instead you got a whole complete cutscene of that one girl singing Let It Go. It really got on my nerves, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It really did get on my nerves. It was that horrible. I did not care for that whatsoever. It just didn't feel really watch-worthy, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. It was terrible. One thing that really got me, and I'm probably not gonna go into straight detail about how the story actually is, because truth be told, I still could not understand what was going on with like visiting the worlds and all them, but I felt like playing through this game the first time, I felt like the whole complete story plot itself felt completely unfinished. It felt unfinished for so many reasons, and if you played this game from start to finish, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But another thing I also want to bring up that I want to kind of transition into this topic, the same topic in particular, is the fact that the Kingdom Hearts characters didn't fully connect with each other until the very end of this video game. Yeah, they didn't fully connect until the very end of the game. Now, if I were the director of Kingdom Hearts, I would have slowly added in like these characters throughout these worlds that you're exploring. At least that's what I think would have been really interesting to do, was to include the characters slowly throughout the video game instead of having to do all of that in just one ending. Like, the only best thing about this game, at least in terms of story-wise, was the fact that was the whole, you know, almost towards the end factor where you had to visit the Keyblade graveyard. But other than that, the whole story plot within Kingdom Hearts, other than that, just did not make much sense. This is the part where I'm gonna be spoiling this right now, so now is your chance to click this off if you have not played through this game at all. So, the ending itself, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it was horrible. It was horrible. The ending itself pissed me off out of all the things that could have happened in the video game. The director of Kingdom Hearts said that it'll leave all your questions answered, but honestly, I felt like it left me with a lot of questions on what's gonna happen next. I mean, even after the whole ending credits, it made me feel comfortable knowing that, you know, there was gonna be like a sequel at least, or a new project installment in Kingdom Hearts that's gonna be happening sometime soon, in the near future probably. But still, the ending is what really got me. You guys are probably not understanding what I'm talking about, but basically, to try to make it as short as I possibly can, basically Kairi was killed off in the video game, and it pissed me off so much. It pissed me off so bad. Basically, after you end up defeating Xehanort, Xion mentions something along the lines of how she can actually feel Kairi being closer somewhere at some point. And I forget how the rest goes, but I do remember there was like ending transitions of like these Kingdom Hearts characters all throughout the world, and Donald and Goofy just completely going back to their own world, and everything seems all happy and restored and yada yada yada. And then when you get to the Destiny Islands, you'll notice that Kairi and Sora are sitting together on this little tree spot that they would normally hang out. Basically, it shows that Kairi made it out alive, but that somehow Sora didn't. My first initial reaction was that, oh my god, did Sora really did sacrifice his own life just to save Kairi's? What? How did he even get Kairi in the first place? Like, that's the thing that I just don't get. How did he find Kairi and bring her back? It made me thought of, like, what happened to Sora? I mean, did he completely vanish off the face of the earth? You know, what happened? So then I finally figured out the Yuzora ending, and that gave me some relief that he's not dead, obviously, but still, I still don't understand how he brought back Kairi. I mean, I felt like that whole part was completely left out, which I do not get. The ending was so horrible, I hated it. And I think, till this very day, this whole ending itself kind of threw me off a bit over the edge, in my opinion. That's what really killed off the video game, in my mind. one final thing I really wanted to point out, and it is the fact that for a game that took so long just to develop, it felt completely rushed and just published unfinished. There was a lot of things in this game in particular that left me with a lot of questions and a lot of things that felt like it was completely underdeveloped, and there was a lot that I felt like could have been so much better, and there's just too many to name, and obviously the cons really says it all to me. I was just very disappointed for that reason. Now guys, do keep in mind, as a Kingdom Hearts fan, I do not hate this game with a burning passion. I'm just ultimately disappointed because I feel like they could have done so much more to make the game so much better, and ultimately for the fans to enjoy the very most. And most of all, for somebody like me who's a huge fan of Kingdom Hearts, including everybody else, I felt like they could have done a much better job with the story development and everything else. I felt like they could have added in something to make it a lot more better, and if not a lot more better, then maybe something that would be closely related to Kingdom Hearts 2 at the very least. I had so much high expectations for this game, only to feel really disappointed and bummed out to the very bitter end. It sucks. Thinking about it more thoroughly, I did hear rumors about a possible DLC that was coming to Kingdom Hearts 3. Hopefully that will happen sometime in the future, and hopefully it does answer a lot more questions. To be honest with you guys, I have no exact idea of what this whole DLC thing is gonna hold in store for Kingdom Hearts 3, but hopefully they add in like new worlds and better story development, because there was a lot in here that I felt could have been a lot more better, to be honest. And hopefully that does happen, and hopefully if they do the whole final mix thing like they did with the second and first installment, hopefully it gets better context at the very least, because there was just a lot that I felt could have been a lot more better. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video altogether and what I had to share about Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video altogether. So if you did, be sure to sucker punch that like button down below. Comment down below as well. Let me know how you felt about Kingdom Hearts 3 if you have played this video game in particular. I would like to know, did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you thought it was okay? Did you guys thought that they could have done something a little bit more better with this game? Did you guys feel the same way I do about wanting to develop this game a little bit more better? Anything at all, do leave it down in the comments down below, because I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts, and I'm also interested in hopefully maybe starting a conversation with you about Kingdom Hearts 3. And of course, if you guys are completely new to this channel, and if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to my lovely channel, join my little army of darkness, and if you hit that notification button, you will be updated with brand new videos every single Friday. If you guys are interested in following me outside of YouTube, all of my social medias will be listed in the description box right down below, if you are indeed interested in checking them out yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a completely chill week, and awesome day or night, and I will talk to you all soon in the next video. So until then, stay completely dark and so fucking brutal and awesome, my friends. Take care. Bye for now.